Hello and welcome back to the Snakebite. It's our weekly sports show that airs every Tuesday at noon. I'm John Kristovich with James Simpson. Thank you for joining us here at FSC TV. Happy March. No better way to celebrate than with a pair of big matchups tonight.
That's right. It's the Sunshine State Conference Tournament, and both the men's and women's team will host the first round tonight. Let's start with a quick season recap for these two clubs, which each have hit their stride heading into the postseason. First, the women's team, which is ranked second in the conference. They're on a 10-game winning streak and have completely turned their season around following a 3-6 record to begin the year. Tonight, they'll play Lynn University, a team they most recently beat on February 5th by 28.
And you'll remember Lynn did beat Florida Southern earlier this season, but I think you and I will both agree that was a different team then. Well, let's talk about the Mocs' most recent matchup with Embry-Riddle last Wednesday for the third consecutive game. This one went down to the wire, but Florida Southern was able to escape with a gritty 55-53 victory. Sarah Wolgemuth had a big game, scoring 16 points, including the game winner with under 5 seconds to play. Throughout the regular season, Wolgemuth has primarily run the point and has started every game of their long winning streak. Whitney Jacob and Julia Janicki lead the team in scoring as they head into tonight's big game, each averaging over 15 points per contest.
Yeah, John, and on the men's side, they've also seen a meteoric rise in the standings after it seemed unlikely at times that they would be able to host a game here in the first round of the playoffs. They've won 9 of their last 11, with both of their losses to nationally ranked teams. During that stretch, though, they've beaten the University of Tampa twice, and that's the team they will challenge tonight after the women's game wraps up at the Jenkins Fieldhouse. They come into tonight's game with an overall record of 15-13, and again, like the women, have clearly found their rhythm here in the back half of the season.
And no kidding, they are riding some real momentum after beating Embry-Riddle last Wednesday. That was a team ranked second in the region before facing Florida Southern. The under-the-radar Mocs were led by E.J. D'Amberville and Xavier Rhodes, who scored 26 and 25 points respectively to pull away with a 6-point overtime win on Senior Day. This year, the Mocs have been led by those two as D'Amberville averages a double-double and Rhodes has over 5 assists per game to go along with his 14.4 point scoring average.
Yeah, and John, you don't want to look past the SSC Conference Tournament too much, but these matchups have serious regional consequences. Both teams, they're on the verge of qualifying for the regional tournament. You know, the top 8 move on, and most recently, the women's team was ranked 7th, which means if the tournament happened tomorrow, they would make it into, and the men 9th. So they're kind of on the outside looking in, but if they win, they will get an automatic bid to the regional tournament.
Yeah, and it's really exciting stuff because you look at it, the top 8 teams in the region are going to qualify for the national tournament, but there's just so much up in the air. Each team has a chance to have 3 more games against really good opponents. But like you said, if you win the Sunshine State Conference Tournament, you make your way into the region. If you don't, that's where things get a little bit dicey. So that's something that we're going to have to follow here down the stretch, and hey, we'll get you updated as soon as we have that. But hey, these teams are in this position because of a pair of huge wins against Embry-Riddle. That was last Wednesday, and we had a couple of athletes to talk to after their huge wins.
Sarah, great game and that great game winner. How does that feel?
Feels great. They were really tough. They played us great. I'm just glad we were able to overcome kind of the adversity in the beginning and come back and finish strong.
Absolutely. What does this game mean to you guys going into the off-season, or postseason, excuse me?
It means a lot. We really came in the second half of the season and the second round of games and fought hard, and we went undefeated, so that was great. I mean, we just really came together as a team, really gelled, so I'm really proud of these girls. They worked their butts off, and they played really hard.
Good save. We'll be back here next week for the first game of the tournament. How are you looking forward to that one?
We're really excited. We're ready to get back to work. We're going to enjoy this one and then get back to work for the next one.
So there you go, both teams competing in postseason play tonight. It's the first round of the Sunshine State Conference Tournament right here at home in Lakeland. Women at 5:30 against Lynn, men right after against the University of Tampa Spartans.
That's right. Let's shift focus a little bit here because tonight we'll have the second half of a baseball doubleheader, which will see the Mocs take on Kentucky Wesleyan College. The teams won back-to-back series against the SSC opponents, defeating Barry University this past weekend twice. Nate Madej continued his solid season with 5 innings of 1-hit ball in the first game, as the Mocs pitching was extremely efficient. In Game 2, Florida Southern used a big 9th inning to come back, reclaim the lead, and hold on for the series win.
Yeah, Nate Madej and the Mocs seem to be finding a nice groove on the mound and, of course, have a nice home stretch coming up here this week. Well, the softball team has a bit of a break here before they compete next after wrapping up a series with Barry University. They're looking for a bit of a spark here, James, after dropping 6 straight, and they've got a good chance to get back on track as they play the University of Minnesota Duluth from up north. Really good hockey teams up there, James. let's see if the warm weather aids the Mocs during their spring break.
Honestly, it looks like there's a couple of teams trying to avoid the cold, as both lacrosse teams will welcome visitors from up north. After destroying a admittedly young Flagler team this past weekend, the men's lacrosse team will welcome in Lindenwood University and top-ranked Lemoyne in the next couple of weeks, a couple of very, very good teams. Plus, the women's lacrosse team, coming off a bit of a heartbreaker against Queens, will continue their opening homestand with the University of Findlay, Mount Olive, and Wingate all this coming week.
Yeah, James, you said it. It's going to be busy, but hey, some really good competition coming up from up north to our sunny Lakeland. So you got the women's lacrosse team and the men's lax team both in action this past weekend. I mean, you talk about the women's team, they're going up against the number 3 ranked Queens University of Royals. I mean, they're tough. It was a tough game and saw the Mocs lose by 3 despite a pretty good performance. The men's team, you said it, they really did beat up on Flagler up in St. Augustine. Thomas Frank, Jeff Atlas, and Sean Nolan, 7, 6, and 5 goals respectively. Those 3 are really turning heads in the country with the way they've performed. Hey, they got a big week ahead with some good competition, but we'll chat about their season here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and in other news, we had the women's golf team host the Lady Mocs Classic last week, with our team finishing 5th out of 15 teams at the Invitational. The Mocs top 4 each finished within 1 stroke of each other, as the number 23 ranked Mocs had a nice outing on their home course. The women's team is set to be back in action in 2 weeks at Rollins College's home course in Winter Park, while the men's team should enjoy their spring break competing at the Las Vegas Desert Classic next week.
I'll tell you, there has never been a time more that I wished I played golf. But hey, the Mocs tennis teams have a series of contests coming up at home, with the men slated for 5 different opponents in the next 8 days, while the women head to Hilton Head, South Carolina for some out-of-conference matchups. Plus, they get the opportunity to welcome Division I UConn here in a couple of weeks to Lakeland.
And now, looking for the track team, if you'll remember last week, we discussed the University of Tampa Track Classic number 1. Number 2 is this Friday. We've got a couple of opportunities for some women to really perform. Ellie Fluman has a legitimate chance to set another school record in the 5K. And I mentioned again last week that we're a 5K team, we're a 10K team, and now we have a chance to show it. You know, our studs, Mason Jones, Josh Wagner, they have a couple chances to do something big. It might be tough for Mason to set the school record in this pool of competition. He might have to go somewhere else to get in a bit of a faster heat, but you never know what could happen after he ran that 3K school record basically alone. And it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, sure. It's always nice to see our track athletes getting back out there. One more for you. The Mocs swim teams got quite a bit of recognition from the NCAA ahead of the national championships, which will begin on Wednesday, March 9th. Something we talked about last week. In anticipation of these athletes, the Mocs came up big, qualifying 14 swimmers to compete at the NCAAs. Miguel Bernardi, Brandon Dyke, Ludwig Mueller, Elder Oliveira, Kyle McAuliffe, Keith Peristeritis, Luca Prostran, Ludovico Verberte, Matteo Zampisi, Jazzy Hoffman, Aaron McCann, Tegan McCallick, Olivia Miles, and Emily Peck. So we wish them good luck in the coming weeks.
And that will bring us to our This Week in Mocs History segment. And today we're looking at February 27th, 2000, when the softball team defeated St. Michael's 28-0, setting a record for most walks in a game with 23 in the blowout. The team wound up finishing 46-16 that season, winning the SSC championship, and were the runners-up in the region.
Well, how about that? That's all we've got for you this week on the Snakebite. Tune in tonight. 2 big games. The women at 5:30 against Lynn, the men right after against the University of Tampa, as our team tries to advance in the SSC tournament. I'm John Kristovich with James Simpson. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Enjoy your spring break.